Everyone in the village thought Amora was safe. She lived with her loving husband. She trusted her best friend like a sister. But what no one knew was that the two people who smiled at her every day, the two people she shared food and secrets with, were the same people planning to destroy her life. They laughed with her by day and plotted against her by night. They pretended to care while hiding the darkest greed in their hearts. And when their plan finally came to life, the whole village learned the truth more frightening than anything else. Sometimes the person who hugs you the tightest is the same person waiting to betray you. Amora lived in a quiet African village. She was kind to everyone. She helped elders, she shared food, and she was always the first to comfort anyone who was sad. People respected her. Her parents had died many years ago, leaving her a small piece of fertile land. She protected it with her whole heart because it held all her memories of them. Amora was married to Daniel. She trusted him completely. She believed he would never hurt her. Her best friend, Grace, lived close by. Amora and Grace grew up together. They carried firewood together, fetched water from the stream together, and ate from the same plate. To Amora, Grace wasn't just a friend. She was family. Daniel and Grace both smiled at Amora every day, but inside, they carried a different kind of heart. Grace was jealous of Amora. She wanted Amora's life, her respect, her home, and especially her land. Daniel was tired of village life and wanted to sell the land so he could live. Amora refused. She said the land was her parents' blessing and she could not give it up. Daniel grew angry. Grace grew jealous. Soon their anger and jealousy turned into a dark plan. Daniel told Amora that he needed to visit a sick relative in another village. He left before morning. That same day, Grace came to Amora's hut with a basket of fruits. She said she wanted to wash them at the river and talk. Amora agreed without thinking. She trusted Grace with her whole heart. But Grace walked in the opposite direction of the river. She led Amora toward an old hut near the edge of the forest. When they stepped inside, Daniel was waiting. Amora's heart stopped for a moment. She opened her mouth to ask what was happening, but she never got the chance. Everything went dark, and she did not return home that night. Daniel and Grace walked into the village crying and shouting that Amora was missing. They woke the elders, they hugged neighbors, and they acted broken. Villagers believed them and began searching everywhere. The forest, the stream, the farmlands, people looked until the sun came up. Daniel pretended to be a heartbroken husband. Grace cried louder than everyone else. People felt sorry for them. Days passed. Grace began spending more time in Daniel's hut. She cooked for him. She comforted him. Villagers thought she was simply helping a grieving man, but some whispered quietly that it felt strange. Daniel started losing sleep. He would wake up at night shaking. He kept feeling like someone was watching him. Grace also began to panic in secret. She cried alone, afraid the truth would come out. The village chief called Daniel and Grace to ask more questions. Their answers didn't match. Daniel said one thing, Grace said another. They both claimed they were together at a time when they were actually apart. A hunter said he saw Daniel near the old hut before Amora vanished. Children found Amora's hair ribbon near the same hut. Slowly, the pieces began to connect. Daniel and Grace started fighting every day. Each blamed the other. Their secret became too heavy. Daniel said Grace had pushed the plan forward. Grace said Daniel had wanted the land. The more they argued, the more the truth slipped out between their words. The chief sent villagers to search the abandoned hut. Inside, they found things that belonged to Amora. Her clothing, her slippers, and signs that she had been there. That was the end for Daniel and Grace. They were taken to the chief's compound. The whole village gathered around. The chief asked them what they had done, and neither of them could hide anymore. Grace broke down first. She cried and pointed at Daniel. Daniel shouted and pointed at Grace. They blamed each other, but everyone could see they were both guilty. They were removed from the village and sent away in shame. Their names became warnings told to every young person in the community. Their plan had destroyed their own lives. They lost their home, their respect, and their future. The village never welcomed them back. The villagers mourned Amora. They remembered her gentle heart and her kindness. Her story spread from one village to another, carried by traders, elders, and travelers. People whispered about how a husband and a best friend let greed and jealousy twist their hearts. Her story became a lesson that lived long after her. It reminded everyone that sometimes the greatest danger does not come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people who sit beside you every day, the ones who smile the brightest, the ones you trust the most. And in the end, the truth always finds a way to rise, no matter how deeply someone tries to bury it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another interesting story.